Alright, this video is going to recap some of the things that we've already been talking about in the latest uploads. And also I want to show you something here in this song, Bye Bye Miss American Pie. I've been looking at a little over almost 40 songs now. That there's a lot more that I'm going to look into too, but at least up to about 40 songs that would be considered, I guess, classic rock. And there's a reason, because of all of this stuff is really symbolically connected to the rock and the roll that we're going to see here in the Hebrew Bible that's going to come in reflection right here from this song, in a particular chapter and a few particular verses that are going to actually explain some particular lyrics here and bring out what it's really trying to tell us. Now you should know that, of course, I'm talking about the idle shepherds, you know, the elites, the select, the elect, the privileged, the basic world powers, the entertainment powers, the academia powers, the military powers, basically all united in this cause of deception against the common peoples. You know of it in many forms of population control, as they talk about in conspiracy theory circles, but in reality, it goes much deeper than that. Much deeper than that. And it's a real shame that it's come to this point, I guess, but it has to complete itself, just like any flu or virus or cold. You have to bring it to its full course to get rid of it. So, as in the book of Enoch, it describes it until the consummation of their crimes has come to the full, talking about the sealing period. And we know that this original plan was like an implantation, the seeding of like an egg that was to be incubated, by these incubus, right? These succubus, to be incubated and brought to fruition. Consummation is basically a birthing from a sexual act. And we know that this is all about bringing about a birthing moment, announcing the birth of a new world order. And of course, the ruler within this new world, the supposed new man, in which he has really so easily deceived so many people in believing that they were going to be this new mankind. But in reality, it's him who is to be this new man. So it's a shame that we really have to suffer the ignorance of so many people that are completely blinded into the simple moral obligation of common sense to understanding that murder is bad. That in all of these disasters that are being caused by the powers that be to mimic supposed natural disasters that would be associated with prophecies and revelation that would cause the many weak-minded and spiritually handicapped peoples of the common world to believe that this was coming from some sort of judgment of God, if they could just be led into this belief by some of these supposed truther networks. Well, we know that that's pretty much happening pretty right on point, at least from their perspective. They've got so many people deluded into believing so many things just simply because they're working both sides. You ask some of these people, even if you ask a high-ranking Mason, someone of secret society, someone of some sort of select privileged order, you would ask them, how do they win wars? And they'll tell you, we play both sides. Good cop, bad cop. I even saw, I might have said this before, or if not, I've been meaning to say it. And you can actually look it up because CNN posted it on national television. It will be in their archives. But when they were doing that, I guess kind of like a missile crisis with Korea there, North Korea, and that new leader, the son of the old leader who had passed, uh, he was walking around on maybe what was it? Maybe a battleship or maybe an air site, some sort of place that had something to do with these missiles from where they were going to be launched. And he's walking around, and they zoom in on him with the camera. Whoever is connected to CNN that was filming this on site, and he's got his hand in his military uniform jacket, half covered, kind of like right over his abdomen. And I could show you many pictures of other Masons making that gesture. It's called the hidden hand. It's a symbolism that says that they are working and controlling everything behind the scenes. And he was letting the initiates know, and at the same time mocking and laughing at the face of the people that do know that they really can't do anything about it. Nobody really is going to believe anybody because most of everybody is so preoccupied with so many diverse things rather than the reality and the nature of what this end time prophecy is truly all about. And of course, so think about the Kim Jong guy. I can't remember his name, but the current leader of North Korea. Check that archive video history, CNN, when there was that missile crisis some months ago. See if you can review some of that footage. And if any of you people are sincere and you can find that clip, I would upload it and show it and make some simple remarks. You can even use my voice comments to it if you like. But I'm not really sure if I talk to anybody anymore who is sincere. I know that I'm supposed to be talking to the lost sheep, and it makes a perfect sense that we do definitely have a lot of lost sheep that are watching in secret and, from high places, even much higher than some of these simple footmen that we have running around on the comments page. All right, so there's a lot of stuff that is going on that is trying to be kept from you, and I think at least the main thing that I'm motivated to show you is what I've been given as far as this vision from so many years ago that reveals this moon refuge as the place where they're going to send this destruction, the second cup from this USA, who their PSYOPs agents are working so hard on the supposed truth movement to get everybody to believe God is going to judge because it's satanic. Well, it's not God judging it. As we see, it's the wages of sin. There's the moon god, their god, they themselves, the high arm of Ephraim, as it's recited in the Bible, who is sending this judgment. There we see the trees planted, but I'm really trying to warn them that they themselves are going to suffer the repercussions of their own actions in dealing with the wages of sin. This death in a physical is also going to be brought to them. The good news, Jesus Christ is going to bring you in spirit to a righteous judgment, and you will be placed accordingly in the mansions on high that will be reflective of the level of spirit maturity, progressive spirit maturity that you attained here, because the Father's not going to pass anybody to any higher grades of reality dimensional existence than you yourself are ready for. But nonetheless, friends, I am motivated very strongly to continue to reveal what the plan is, who is sending this destruction, and where they plan on going. And at the same time, to extend the warning to these people that I see for them very bad things that are reflective of the same bad things that they seek to bring us. And we're going to talk about that. And it's even kind of bound up within this song here with this Don McLean lyrics, which all this stuff can be connected. Just briefly here, because it's so relative, and it's relative to the series that we've been talking about with Peculiar Brothers. And we're going to come back to this again. This is kind of more of a foundational support and in some ways a summary of the things we've been talking about. You should watch a video series that I did in full. It's entitled Why the Illuminati Use the Left Eye. Knowing more now what we know as the things that have been revealed on this channel, it is absolutely imperative that you go and review that video. Everybody taught by the doctrines of men, Manly P. Hall and the likes. I'm not down on anybody's doctrines. I personally know that it's BS, not to say a derogatory thing, but to call it what it is. It's the doctrines of these ancient bulls, and it is their shit. It's their caca. It's their mess, and it fulfills the fractal in every way. It is pure BS. And if you can't see that morally, that Jesus Christ is telling you that you have to do unto others as you would have done to you. Well, I don't think that you would want the world leaders and the elites and the entertainment powers that be and these people on YouTube to be deceiving you and then plan on getting you to be preoccupied when they send some sort of destruction that they seek to plan your murder. I don't think that you want that. So that is going against the basic morality. When Jesus Christ says that you got to be like a child to enter the kingdom, children don't know etymology. They don't study diverse doctrines of men. They don't understand Masonic geometry. They don't entertain racism. You have to teach racism to a child. And anybody that has had children can tell you that firsthand, that children see all other children without influence from the television and without influence from the public schools and the peer pressure from those people that have been influenced by television. But children are pure in their heart. They accept and they're naturally trusting, just as Jesus Christ clarified. That's what the level of faith is. If you're trusting in these doctrines of men with their twisted geometries and their twisted mirror deceptions where they're using evil to attain their good and at the same time our destruction, we see that the divine plan has it worked out that it's actually going to come back on them. And I'm here to actually warn them and to give them the message that Jesus Christ loves them. And that if you're playing the name game, Jesus Christ is not letters. Jesus Christ is not what you think he is based upon the definition of a letter. He exceeds the letter. None of these letters apply to him. What applies is the intent of your heart. How many times does this have to be said for this common sense of the first level of spirit understanding to entertain, to enter your mind that has already been entertained by this preoccupation of these doctrines of men? How long? How long does it take? How long? So I'd like you to just review the video, and I want you to view this right here because it's going to be one of the main themes in this Don McLean song about Bye Bye Miss American Pie, right? We're talking about the destruction of the USA, all right? But what we're trying to do here is to get past all of the layers, the multi-layers of deception, and truly reveal what it's all about, where it's coming from, who's doing it, what the target is. As you know, New York City is also considered Gotham City. You say that basically just in its word sound, got ham. And as you know, they consider Jesus is this earth pig, and they've related this all up to etymology and then Hebrew letter number code and all of this BS that has preoccupied their minds with things that are not spiritual, that are material, that are carnal, that are not revealing spirit things, but are revealing materially diluted things. And none of that is in reflection what Jesus Christ taught about a progressive understanding and what a true progressive religion is, to where your truth is steadily growing in reflection of the spirit maturity that you are attaining from living the actuality of the past truths that have been attained. Until you live these truths, you're showing no maturity, and you yourself are like an immature child that has now become spoiled and thinks that it's going to receive everything that the adults receive of the spiritually mature world around them without having to go through the paces to gain the experience that guarantees that now you have gained this by an acquirement of your own action. So don't become a spoiled brat-like child that acts out when somebody brings the truth to you higher than your recognition of truth that you previously had, and then you act like a spoiled brat because somebody is showing you something much deeper than you previously understood. Think about it. So notice here that, as they want to talk about the mirror and the mirror, and they're running the mirror, how do they win wars? They play both sides. That's both sides of the mirror, the light and the dark. It's no secret, the black and the white, the good and the evil, the spirit, the material, as they see it. But that means, friends, that they're going to lose twice. If they're fighting a war of deception and they're playing both sides, guess what? They lose twice. They lose materially, which is commercial Babylon, in the many myriads of ways that it's going to be reflective of that. And then also they're going to lose spiritually, ecclesiastical Babylon, its main refuge, the Shinar. So as you know, they're supposed to make us devoid of water, devoid of the spiritual water of the truth of Jesus Christ. And then, of course, devoid of this material water. You know that the end times prophecy is reflective of the water that is at least left here being made bitter and like wormwood. That's reflective of two things. Once again, the spiritual water that the locusts offer, which is devoid of water, which is now their doctrine or their knowledge, reflective of the rivers of the Euphrates that are also connected, that are flowing from Babylon, and of course that are also connected in the rivers symbolically that are also flowing from Eden. All of this knowledge that is flowing from the Garden of Eden event till now is based upon temptation, this temptation of ye are gods. So this knowledge is reflective of water as well. So it's a twofold thing about this no water, but it's also twofold about who it's going to happen to, because you know in Ezekiel 19 it cites that this remnant, that at least in the perspective of Ishtar, is going to be planted in a dry and thirsty ground. Well, that's the moon. That's Shinar. Zion, as we showed you previously, literally means a dry place. The Shinar is their Zion. It is their refuge, this moon. It's the place that many of these high-ranking ones are already there and have been there for a very long time. And then at the same time, it's a place where the remnant is promised refuge that is here doing the work and the labor to deceive the masses. They're known as the idol shepherds. These idol shepherds in Zechariah 11:17 are described as having their right eye darkened, only exposing their left eye. Well, you can see so many people that are running this one eye symbolism thinking it's cool. What they don't understand about the scripture, that it is revealing them as a fool, that they themselves are going to be the ones where it describes in Zechariah 11:17 that it says that their arm shall be clean, dried up. Let's look at this real quick here, and we'll get to this Don McLean song here, and I want you to see some stuff here. It's so important. See, I forgot to start talking at the 10-minute mark. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. Where are they going? Well, I told you. They're going to Shinar. They're going to the moon. And it's in all these other songs, as I said, close to 40 of them. Fly me away to the bright side of the moon and meet me on the other side. I think that's Dreamweaver. All right? I'm telling you guys, you better believe that what I'm giving you is what is supposed to be given the poor and needy. And hopefully it's going to reach through the hardness of these iron and stony hearts of these people that have been deceived and tempted by these doctrines of men. Basically the carrot before the donkey's mouth, making them the ass that's been pulling the cart. We know who's riding in it. All right? It is this fallen king, and he is going to get them to pull them right past the checkered flag, that black and white checkered flag that we see is so heavily associated with their doctrines and their plans of Templar Knight Freemasonry. And as you should know, it's connected to this deception with the planet Saturn. And there you see it right there. And this is something that I've yet to show, but it is something that I'm going to show. And I'm going to show how all of this is a part of these Templar Knight Freemasons and their maze of deception that they are bringing to inaugurate their supposed New World Order. And we know what cockatrice, what eye is lurking that they're trying to bring in. All right? As we know that it's Egyptian influence derived Templar Knight Freemasonry. And you know those Templar Knights, of course, found their knowledge under the Temple of Solomon, which happened to be all of those ancient occultic artifacts that you saw the ancient children of Israel put away in the book of Samuel. So I think the time is about to go out here in about a few seconds here. Just take a break, try to absorb this stuff here. Okay, it describes, woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm. The sword, the judgment, the destruction, the stone. Of course, ancient Israel threw stones at what they believed to be sinners, but it was mostly people that they were judging falsely based upon their immorally adept laws. And of course, Jesus Christ gave you the true laws, which are reflective of love your neighbor as yourself, which really means do unto others as you would have done unto you. And then love the Father with all your might. If everybody could do that, everything would just be all right. And we don't have to murder people to get them to do it. We don't have to do that. That's not how it's done. There's a common sense morality that is completely devoid, and that's what Jesus Christ means when he says that these people are blind. The cares of this world have now blinded them. What they're being taught a flip of the switch of this. When they go to their cremation of care in the Bohemian Grove, the leaders of this world, this is really to help get them to burn the cares of what they're about to do to this nation, their nations, their peoples, their lands. They're indoctrinating them to get them to want to do this. And it's taken time to bring these nations to this point. And they've had to be tempted, they've had to be lullabied, they've had to be enticed and romanticized, they've had to be shown that they would be taken care of and then they would receive all of these supposed rewards. Well, that's actually all of the same material BS that they're trusting in, that they're being tempted with, that they're going to get. Once again, they are the ones that are trusting in the carnal. They are seeking to gain a material realm in an iniquitous manner, all being done by a colossal deception that they themselves are being tricked to running, but they're actually being tricked to running on themselves. Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. We know the kids that they're talking about are the goats. These goats will eat anything. And as we know, out of the mouth of the eater shall come forth meat. Their eater is the serpent, symbolized as the serpent coming around to eat his own tail, as we know that the doctrine that comes forth from the serpent is going to be nothing but the doctrine of himself. Vanity. Think about it. It's all the same thing that you guys, many of you guys, are acting out and reflecting every day. Every day. And I'm doing my best to help you. I hope that you see it. So the sword is going to be upon these idle shepherds' arm. All right? And we know that that's the select. We know that that's the elite. Think about how many people that are running this singular eye. I want you guys to understand, it says his arm should be clean, dried up. Well, where is his arm at? Well, it says that his arm, and if you read Hosea and you understand what he's talking about, he says that the high arm of Ephraim. We know that Avian is the high places. This Avian is associated with the Egyptian city of On, more importantly, the temple of On. We know that Ephraim's mother was the daughter of the high priest of On. It is perfectly in reflection to this Templar Knight Freemasonry, the select privileged few that now are creating a legion of deceived blind masses that are literally following the blind directly to the pit. We know that who's coming out the pit is reflected of the pit, and this is a void that you are not going to be able to fill. I just don't. Man, if it seems that you got to really go back and view the video history in its entirety, and I know many of these people are actually scrambling to do that just as right now. But don't miss it. Don't start looking for ways to accuse me, because you're going to miss the whole entire point of what the truth is and what mercy is being offered to you, and what the real message here is, guys. The message is brotherhood for all, not for people that are affiliated with your fraternities, okay? And that murder is not going to bring you anything but the recompense of that same action, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Don't you understand the basic laws of physics? Don't you understand that? Many of you speak karma, but you believe that you are devoid to the recompense of its effects based upon the causational ripple that you are putting into time-space. you better believe that these ripples are going to turn into a raging wave of turbulent seas that are actually going to the very shores that you think yourself are going to arrive at safely and secure. No, my friend, you're going to be dashed upon the rocks in pieces. The supposed vessel that you have put trust in, which is this material BS, is going to be destroyed. If you believe in it, you yourself will experience the destruction of it. But Jesus Christ has offered you the experience of experiencing the ascension above it into the spirit kingdom of truth. And that ain't no moon called Shinar. A real spirit realm of real spirit truth. So the arm is going to be clean dried up. Now, as you know, they want that to be us because they're draining the aquifers in the Midwest. T-bone pickings. T-bone pickings. Wow, that's funny. We could see a big old fractal in that. Let's go to what's happening in the Great Lakes, at least to what they're telling you. They want you to believe that the water is being sold, privatized and sold from the Great Lakes, or in a sense being hijacked and being sold to China. Well, I got news for you, friends. It's not being sold to China. China is involved, at least this portion of China, as in being the place where this water is being sent to Shinar, because Ezekiel 19 will describe that she is planted in a dry and thirsty ground. So they've been bringing this water there because they need water to survive. Everybody needs water to survive. They know that. So they're trying to take away our water and at the same time bring what water we got that's still good up there for them. Colossal blunder. Because what goes around comes around. You shall reap what you sow. And if you understand, all of you people that are haughtily flashing this single eye symbol like you're cool, and most of you probably ain't got your ticket to Shinar, and you're thinking about going into some sort of underground base that's called a dumb. Are you dumb? Are you dumb? Because they think you're dumb. They think you're dumb. Go ahead and get into your underground base. These people that are affiliated with these high military ranks. Go ahead and do it. Because the joke is on you. These dumbs are reflective of your stupidity in believing that you can do these things in deception to your common fellows based upon race doctrines that you've been taught by moral cowards of our ancient past. Intellectually, spiritually retarded cowards that have led many people this modern age into the pit. Think about it. So now they bring our water to the dry and thirsty ground. Zion means dry place, Shinar. Just think about all that. Think about all you people that are running around thinking about this singular eye stuff is cool because you've been deceived by just some weak PSYOPs agents on YouTube. And of course, you've been made to believe that Jesus Christ's message possibly couldn't be true. What's so bad about what Jesus Christ is saying that you cannot understand it? And if you still thinking Jesus is calling men gods, you ain't watched my series in its full Ye Are Gods, Ask and Ant in question form. Watch that series, and you will see what many people don't want you to see. And they also don't want you to see that I see. And we're going to keep on going because there's a lot to talk about. All right, now, you're getting the idea about this reflection of water, how it's playing out in the world stage of events, that they are seeking to take our water, and then what water is left here shall be made bitter, it shall be made wormwood. Now, that's going to be reflective of radiation, okay, radioactivity. Radiation. Now, we know that this radiation is going to be brought about by dirty bombs, right? And if you guys should understand, that's exactly what I'm showing in these pictures, that these are missiles, that these are bombs, that these are nukes that are going to be faked as meteors or asteroids. But you should know that they're already telling you that it's going to happen. If you've been watching some of the things that I've been showing, and some of the things that are on TV, all of this stuff is already showing that they're going to destroy New York City by nuclear bombs. And so many of you people are really that dense that you can't get this through your head, that they are advertising this in a symbolic way to their initiates, exactly who they're going to do this to and how they're going to do it, and then where they're going to go, and then they're going to be brought into the safety. All right, now let's get serious. Now let's get serious. I'm going to show you something here in the book of Zechariah. We'll try to remember the time thing. Back to where we were talking about Shinar. Remember, this is a complete diagram I did. Flying roll, which is also brought by the rock. They're bringing this judgment. They're doing this. And they think that they're in this safe spot because they've been bringing this water, and their powers that be, they're men. They've been trusting in these men, these moral cowards that are hiding out to do this cowardly. They got to be so far away. They think that nobody's going to be able to find them, that they're going to be able to vanish in the air, and ain't nobody going to be able to get them. And we're going to be down here suffering and killing ourselves. Wicked. Pure wickedness. Pure wickedness. Woe unto Babylon. You have done plenty wrong and no good. You have built the fires to burn the ones that won't let you destroy, but the ones that will let you destroy, you readily employ. Ephraim has hired lovers. Are you some of these hired lovers that have been deceived and tempted by carnal things? And you have cremated your care of your brother, your care of the world, your care of innocent babies, all for some sort of wickedness of your own self-gain? Wow, I would not want to be in your shoes. I just would not want to be in your shoes. You know, all these people faking and crying on YouTube and all this crap that they're doing and saying, oh, wow, what a great acting job is going on. What a great acting job. Well, anyway, let's see this. Who's the chief musician? Because that's going to be Satan, right? And you got to think about who this widow bride is. All right, there's the song right there. All right, I can't remember if I cried when I read about, they had to read about this. This comes from the Doctrines of Men. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. Something touched me deep inside the day the music died. Now, who's the day the music died? Well, that's the beast, because the beast has a wound that they are seeking to heal. That's the beast that was sealed. And then we know that Obama is reflective of that in so many different ways, but that's the ringer, just like Saturn is the ringer. Obama is the ringer. He's the red herring. But symbolically, they're trying to mirror this whole thing about him, about this one that has been wounded that will then still continue. Well, in all actuality, it's about an ENKI that was wounded by the sharp two-edged sword, the silver sword, the silver tongue, the silvery tongue of Jesus Christ, that smote him with his word, as it is perfectly recounted in the Bible and the particular scriptures that talk about it. Guaranteed. It's a fact. Okay? So we know that they're talking about Satan, but they're talking about Satan in a perspective that you don't think. They don't believe that Satan is who we have been taught, and they have contorted this whole thing to make it, or at least they've been thought to make it, that it's been made appear that this Satan character is the good one. Just as you know, the serpent now, ENKI, the symbolism for the serpent, ENKI, is being shown as the good guy because he's given mankind this supposed portion of knowledge. As I told you, he is only given this knowledge as the means for him to achieve his material form. And the delusion of the temptation is to trick man into thinking that they will be made gods if they do this. But in all actuality, they're not. None of them have. None of them have. And as I told you, that's the obsession for the bloodline, the correct genetics, which has been severely diluted. But the genetics that they are trying to connect to is already the diluted genetics of the donkeys, which are the hybrids, which is the association with the X crossing. And now we know that woman is the XX chromosome, where they get their sacred feminine from. I'm telling you guys, we could start this thing from start to finish, and it would all connect seamlessly as one thing. So we're talking about a widowed bride. Well, who is the widow? Well, that's the Black Widow. We know that's the spider. That's the Black Madonna. That's false Israel, and we know that this Black Madonna is Ishtar. And as we know, this widow, who has lost its husband, but we know that it's a husband that it is taken under adultery because it left its first husband. So you know that that's why the Bible says that Israel is like an adulterous wife. Well, the husband that Israel has taken was wounded by a sword. Okay? And then this is where they're talking about their supposed music has died. And the widowed bride is now this Ishtar. Now, you know, all of this relates back to Isis and Osiris. Okay? All of that's the same coded information. Now, I'm not going to try to go to in full detail with all this right now. I don't want this would take 4 or 5 hours to really give you all the foundational support of what I could begin to start saying here. But I just want you to see that that is the beginning basis of what they're trying to do. So now he says, bye bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Now, it's not him driving the Chevy. It's these good old boys that are associated now with the common peoples of America that, if you know about in Hosea, or it might be Jeremiah, as recited as the drunkards of Ephraim. Well, that's a two-part meaning, because the real drunkards of Ephraim, it's them that are going to Shinar, and they're being drunken off this new wine, okay? But they want to flip the switch and think that they're going to annihilate us because the common man has become a bunch of slothful drunkards that can't recognize their supposed occult symbolism, and then therefore they believe that these people, for many other reasons in their doctrines, should be destroyed. So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. That's bye-bye to America. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Well, why would the levee be dry? Why would the levee be dry? Well, they've taken the water. So when the American goes bye-bye, we see that the good old American peoples are going to be driving to these water sources, but these water sources are dry. Here's the beginning of the mirror. This is what they are being taught, that America needs to be destroyed because they're a bunch of idol shepherds, and then they produce the show American Idol, reflective of that, but it's all reflective of it in their psyops. It's the leaders of America. It's the elites and the privileged who are these true idol shepherds. It's not the common man. It's not the people that have been tricked to eating the clown-produced hamburgers from the red-headed clowns that have a chain of fast food joints that spread the globe. It's not the common people that have been deceived, because Jesus Christ calls them the poor and the needy, and that's who Jesus Christ is for, the poor and needy. But we also see that Jesus Christ is going to be for the poor and needy of these people that go to Shinar, the ones that have the sword in their hand, the AKA millstone that they send to destroy their brothers. Whether they have racist doctrines or not, they're sending it to destroy their brothers. Get out now. Get out now. Woe unto Babylon. Ecclesiastical Babylon is what you should truly be coming out of, because ecclesiastical Babylon is going to get it. It's going to get it. You people that think you're in your high, safe place, you're not. You're not. The hand of the Father can easily find you wherever you are. And as you know, Jesus said it would be better for those that send these offenses on us to have the millstone wrapped around their neck, which means that they're the rough ones that truly need the abrasion. So because they send the millstone, the repercussional action of the millstone is going to cause the real abrasion upon them. They are the wood that will be worked, right? And then the Father has sent many woodworkers here to work this wood and to bring out the figure that's on the inside, that is in the most knotty portions, the most twisted branches of this tree, is where some of the most interesting figure can be found, if you know how to work it. Well, Jesus Christ, the chief woodworker, he knows how to work these fallen trees. He has allowed them to cure. He's allowed them to dry out. No water. He's allowed them to dry out. And now, Jesus Christ along with his many emissaries, his many woodworkers, are going to attempt to fray away the rough portions here and bring out these ones that are twisted, these ones that are naughty, these ones that are doubting. We're going to try to bring out their figure. And Jesus can do it. And if I follow the discipleship, the apprenticeship that he has given me, I'll be able to help polish and bring these beings to a true luster, not a material luster by the doctrine, morality, and truth. Real truth. Real truth, friends. Think about it. Probably missed some of that right there, of course, as always. The timing thing is hard for me to keep track of. All right. So the Black Madonna, all right. And let me see if I can kind of show y'all guys something here real quick. Okay. Black Madonna, huh? That widowed bride. Now, I told you that that was Ishtar, right? And then we know that that's symbolism for the spider. We know that they weave the spider's web. That's based upon the influences of Ishtar, as we see Ezekiel 19. Who is Israel's mother? Is she a lioness? And then we see that Ishtar is depicted here as a lioness. But what she has done, she has corrupted these young lions who would be known as the sons of God, that were associated with the true king of the jungle, which is now associated with the conquering lion of Judah, Jesus Christ. So here we see a very hardcore, esoteric, coded picture that will fulfill what Don McLean is talking about in more esoteric rhetoric. All right? So let's just come on and look at this real close here. Now, what does Rev 12 say? It says that the moon shall be under her feet. She has a crown of 12 stars. All right? And then all of this is about bringing about their sun god. All right? And this moon thing is the location, in a sense, of the throne, because the dominion has been separated from earth. We know that the waters above have been separated from the waters below. Well, that's also reflective of peoples. Okay, we know that waters, sea, represents peoples, as I told you, and then also it represents knowledge. The waters above separated from the waters below. We know that now they're trying to bring about their sun god, as we know, their Ankh Goldman, associated with Ra, as you see on the back of the dollar bill, but it is truly associated with this ENKI as his son. So Ra being Lucifer, we see that ENKI is connected to the prince heir of this world, of that dominion or that throne. So now Lucifer, Ra, Anu, has a son, the Nahesh, the serpent of wisdom, ENKI. And then this ENKI, who is trying to be brought about in symbolism with the sun god. Now, it's the very same thing that you see on the Iraqi dinar. We go from Utu Shemesh, which is now the sun god, and then it goes all the way back to ENKI, Lord of the flowing waters. And then as we know that Ishtar is also depicted with these same symbolages right here. It's all the same thing. And it's so much that it takes me hours to speak about this one thing, because it has millions of variables that are absolutely relative. We know that Ishtar's symbol is what? We know the Ishtar symbol is the dove. There we see the dove. There we see that secret society, esoteric symbolism that is associated with the death of man in so many ways. But it's much deeper than that. Of course, they see it much differently. Now we see that this Black Madonna, she is a woman that is carrying something. Now that's going to bring us exactly back to what we know in the book of Zechariah. All right? It says, Zechariah chapter 5, verse 5. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, Lift up now thine eyes and see what is that goeth forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah. Now an ephah is a cup. An ephah is a container. It's also a sealed container, and it is a special cup, and it is going to be fulfilled exactly within the vision as I told you about the second cup and who is actually bringing the second cup, but it has multiple perspectives. That's why so many people can't see it. And as I said, what is it? And he said, this is an ephah. Now, all right, let's look right here. Symbolically, a measuring cup stands for something which has come to the full. Remember in the book of Enoch, it says until the consummation of their crimes, and now we're talking about a woman in travail, a consummation is birth. All right? So we're all talking about the same thing that many people don't want you to realize the truth of. And he said, what is it? And he said, this is an ephah that goeth forth. Now, ephah also means dry measure of grain. Now, we know that this is that wheat that believes it's going to be separated and sifted. Well, Jesus tells you that Satan seeks to sift the wheat first. Well, that would be pretty relative, because we know in this Don McLean song that he's talking about Satan as being the true husband that this widow bride has suffered separation from. And then now we know what the sin agog of Satan is all about, that Jesus Christ warns and says, these people call themselves Jews and are not. As we know that false Israel associated with the nations of the world, the lost 10 tribes of the world that are associated and affiliated with these fraternal orders of the hidden hand, these secret societies that have been indoctrinated to this Egyptian-derived, Babylonian influence, Templar Knight Freemasonry. And I'm telling you, that is false Israel. These are the people that think they're Jews and are not. They are of the synagogue of Satan, and as you see, they are being duped. A seer has been sent, but yet they stone, and they reject, and they accuse, and they spurn, and they seek all the while looking through my words for a way to find fault, rather than realizing I'm just the messenger, and I'm simply going to do what I was sent to do. Whether you're able to receive it or not, one day you will, and you will call me your brother. Think about it. It says, so now we see that this woman is being lifted up in a measure, an ephah, in a cup, something that is judged as coming to the full. And then it describes a woman in the bad ethical sense. Is always a symbol of that which is religiously out of place. And here is the fulfillment and their esoteric symbolism of this black Madonna that is being brought to this new sea on the dark side of the moon, filled with the water that they have stole from the common peoples of our world, to birth into this world this dark prince that would be associated with this black widow, and really all connection to a spider. I said that right at second 13 of 48 minutes, which would be 4:4:4:4:13. Interesting. All for them to see. Now let's go look here on our boat, which in Egyptian terms means duat. A duat is a celestial boat, and as we see on this little boat, Israel is associated with the eye, right? And then if you could see on the flag, it doesn't bring it up too close, but that is a writhing, crooked serpent right there on the flag. What does it say? What does it describe? It describes them being duped and deceived by these ancient serpent doctrines. She has been deceived by many waters, which is these unruly, chaotic peoples of the past that derives its direct origin from the original Anunnaki down to the descendants, the Nephilim, who we know are now seen as serpents associated with the Dans, which are to, in essence, become their judges. But we'll have to speak about that further because it's twofold. You got to think material, and then you got to think spiritual. Okay, the material judges are going to initially work for them, but then they're going to work against them. But then the spiritual judges of that descendancy that has been sealed, who you saw in the book of Daniel, talking about the descendancy through this figuration of Nebuchadnezzar that has been bound and sealed in the spirit, you see that they come to their senses after the sealing period. That will be the portion that truly judges them in the spirit. And as you know, All of this stuff is incredibly connected to some portions of Scripture and Revelation that describe who will be judging who in the last days. Now, that all is going to be in perspective in relationship to who is going to inherit the earth. It's not going to be the chief judgment or the spiritual judgment that takes place on high, that we know will be in accord with the Ancient of Days and also in accord with the Most High's, overseen in the trust of Jesus Christ. So there we have it all. Once again, our crescent moon on this red flag. And then we know that Israel, we have the red and white. And of course, we go with the red and the white. Here's the singular eye. Interesting, red and white. Once again, the singular eye. Now, who's the false shepherds? Long time, and they have heard me show this stuff from every possible perceptive view that could be shown, that shows an absolute equational connection that cannot be severed by anyone's doctrines or beliefs. It is what it is, and it is being brought to you the best that I can do. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm and upon his right eye. Now, we know that his eye shall be utterly darkened, leaving the singular eye, which is the left eye that you see on the back of the dollar bill. Okay. Bingo. The idle shepherds have left the flock. There's our idle shepherds in their Virgin Galactic commercial spaceflight ships. We know commercial Babylon is what had to build their vessels for ecclesiastical Babylon to get somewhere. And they're all trying to escape what? They're trying to escape radiation, because they've had to stay here. They've made them stay here to do the work, to deceive us, to bring us to this point of destruction. And then they have promised them that they will whisk them up in this rapture-like thing, right? That's what they're all about the rapture for, okay? They've been promised. Jesus Christ says, no, Father, I pray for you not to remove them. He's talking about the true believers, but just keep them from evil. So we know these ones that are being sifted by Satan, which believe themselves to be this wheat, which is really this ephah, which is a measure of dry grain. We've already showed the definitions for that. And then we know that this ephah has been affected with this ergot, or this ergo, which is this blackness. And there we have our black Madonna right there. And then these people will try to say that I'm a demon because I can do that, because I can say all that and show them the plain truth, as simple as a child would make all of these connections and see all of this without any prior knowledge, without any prior doctrine. I'm not a studier. I'm not a researcher. I'm a seer. And I see it. And they want to claim ego all they want. Go for it. Go for it. You better claim something. You better claim something. All right, so they're telling you the Black Widow, the Black Madonna, the Black Grain Ephah, okay? The Black Widow spider, bringing the remnant, the royal descendancy to this new shore, this new Shinar, which is nothing less than our own hijacked water, which is all about them trying to bring people to destruction for their own false wicked gain. So there's the symbolism perfectly for Rev 12. Crown of stars, everything, really who they're trying to bring about. The Dark Prince is now trying to be brought into the light. We know that symbolism for the vampires. This Dark Prince now wants to be a daywalker. He's been sealed, and all of this esoteric mumbo-jumbo ritual geometry based upon murder, death, and destruction has been brought to do it. It's been brought to do it. So if you guys have been watching Egyptian mysticism in Rev 12, you will see that I has yet to show any of this, because I did not know that I had it, or that it even connected. This just so happened to be something in another book that I had about monatomic gold, believably or not. And if you know about the monatomic gold, the 44% of the monatomic gold disappears when it's been hit with a DC direct current. Well, who's the DC direct current? Well, it's the 44 that's going to Shinar, that is truly the leaders of this world, it's Ephraim, that is going to hit this portion of the material ecclesiastical Babylon, the East Coast United States, symbolized at the birthing point, New York City, but caused destruction up and down it. And they're going to give this place a direct current, a direct blast. When they do, the remaining 44% shall disappear into the land of Shinar. Okay, they're going to go up somewhere, which is known in monatomic terms as the field of Charon, an alternate dimension. But they're going to occupy this dimension physically as they believe, which means they're deceived with the carnal cares of this world. They're trying to save their physical lives. What did Jesus Christ say? He said, anybody that tries to seek to save their physical life, going to lose it. Anybody that can give it up for his truth will gain their life in eternity. That's the spirit. You understand that, false Israel? Do you understand that? All right, let's get back to the Don McLean song here. And let's show you something that's just absolutely amazing. So, as it's describing this ephah, this dry measure of grain that has now been infected with this blackness, this darkness that is now associated with that Ishtar, all right, we see that that is their resemblance. Their resemblance throughout all the earth is that they are this black grain, that they are this wheat, that they are associated with this cup, and that they are going to be brought as the remnant, as we saw in Rev 12, that reflects the picture. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. Bingo. Let's look at this line here. Helter skelter in a summer swelter. That sound familiar? That sound familiar? Because what I tell you all about Cancer, I told you that it is the hottest part of the summer season. It's the summer solstice. And as we know, we saw that very quirky connection with Cancer being exalted at the solstice point, when in all actuality it should be the ingress into Cancer from Gemini. But as we see, that 69, which is also going to relate to Nekhbet Wadjet, Ishtar, Lucifer, Venus, all of that. As we know, they're trying to bring in the sweet influences of the Pleiades, aka the Golden Age, and then aka the beings that are with it, which just so happen to be connected with Orion. As you know, all of this is further affiliated with the symbolum for Orion, which is going to be that hourglass, which we have right here in this secret society's little G-geometry frieze that they have right here. And then we know that it spells out Zion. Follow the top line, cross it, follow the top line back. Of course, that's an X. But then we bring this line here and connect it over all the other lines that we didn't connect, and that's a ZN. That's for Zion. And then this is also the Xing and the crossing of the genes, which brings us back to the mingling of that iron with the Murray clay. And then we know that the iron is for Orion, and now you go to Orion's belt in the constellation, and what do you see? You see it symbolized as an hourglass. Now you look to the Black Widow spider, and what has the Father of all encoded into the spiritual truth of our world that is reflective into the conditional environment of the truth that the Black Widow spider is bad? She's got a red hourglass on her abdomen. That red hourglass that is in her abdomen represents that timing of the sealing point that has come to the consummation. The Fool, okay? And then now what is about to be birthed out of there, as we know, is associated with ENKI. And as you can see, the red Nahesh serpent all coiled up on the flag right here. Who do you know that can do that? So we see that this Cancer point, as I've already revealed, July equals sacrifice. This Cancer point is the helter-skelter that our Don McLean is talking about so well right here. Helter-skelter in a summer swelter. The birds flew off with a fallout shelter. You got to be kidding me. When I looked into this and saw this, notice it's verse 3. I mean, come on. The birds flew off with a fallout shelter. Well, I mean, Ishtar is what? She's considered a bird of heaven. Okay, we know the Anunnaki gods are considered what? Birds of heaven. Okay? Okay, what do we got here with Ishtar and the assemblage of Nekhbet Wadjet? We have the vulture. What do we know of that in Rev 12? It symbolizes the wings of an eagle, right? So the remnant is flying off with birds. Now, for the proof of that, let's just go ahead and look here at verse 9 from chapter 5. If any of you guys are having a hard time following what I'm saying and are seeing that there's some amazing connections happening, do yourself a favor. Quit listening to these deceivers and realize that time is short, that I'm doing the best I can, that I'm giving you the root to the fruit and back again, and ain't nobody going to stop it, not until the Father allows it, that I'm going to continue until he sees fit for me to move to the next level. And the next level is not them killing me, and they know that. The next level is them taking me. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Now here we see that the birds, all right, so who's flying off with the birds? Helter Skelter and the Summer Swelter. When are they flying off? Well, they're flying off at this very peculiar point of Cancer, which I've already revealed is going to be the sacrifice. And I told you that they've got to stay here until this sacrifice point. And I do it, and they just still will not accept how I've already told every last one of them how I've done it, that I was quickened, that I was given the ability to perceive all this on a much higher plane than my current abilities would allow, and that the Spirit of Truth already encoded all of this for me to look back on over 20 years ago, to show and to continually give me the strength to know that I'm on the right path. There's our little dark prince, right? That would be associated with this Black Madonna, this widowed bride. All this is an association with Satan. As I told you, they cause you to believe that Lucifer, Satan, and the devil are all the same being. And in this symbolism, they represent that. They flip-flop it all around to where nobody knows exactly who they're talking about. That's a way that they can deceive their own initiates. So as we see, curiously, Cancer is exalted at the solstice point, which it should not be in the reality of the seasons, but symbolically, esoterically, they have chose to do that. So now we know that July equals sacrifice, and is when it says helter skelter and a summer swelter, well, the hottest month of the summer is at those solstice points between June and July. Helter skelter and a summer swelter. Chaos is helter skelter, right? They're trying to create order out of chaos. The birds flew off with a fallout shelter. What's the fallout shelter that the birds flew off with? Well, an ancient seer can tell you. He can tell you. And I said, what is it? And he said, this is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, the resemblance of the ephah, the dry measure of grain that has been infected with the ergo, the blackness, the Black Madonna, the Ishtar, the doctrines, the sacred feminine. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. A talent of lead. Lead is what they use to seal fallout shelters. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. And this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. So the black widow that is in the midst of the ephah is the exact same fallout shelter that they flew off with. The birds flew off with a fallout shelter. Wow. Wow. Now there is so much more to show and to say what all this really means, but we have gone over an hour. And that was really the whole point of where I wanted to bring you to. And maybe because the video is so long, I'll just do a second video within 10 minutes that will repeat this last part here, show you connections with Zechariah and what we see here with these verses. But as I tell, with these words that come out my mouth that are absolutely a message from the Spirit of Truth, Jesus Christ. Woe unto the idle shepherd. Your arm is going to be clean, dried up. I'll be back.